everyone. Today we've got Trevor from akgoodlight.com joining us on the Inventory Source podcast. Trevor, thanks for making it today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Cool. So, for people that might not know what AK Goodlight does and yourself as well, mind just giving us a quick background on the website and your role there?
Yes, so akgoodlight.com is a online store that helps everybody to get items that it's hard to find. We've had that issue ourselves as customers online, where we would just have to search endlessly from page to page. When we built akgoodlight.com, we kept that in mind and making things simple for the customer to find what's hard to find out there.
Yeah, and what kind of? I know you're in the home and garden space, right? But what kind of products specifically do you to focus on? Any major brands or certain types of products that you guys specialize in?
hmm Yeah, so we've specialized in the niches of home and garden, as you said. A lot of these products that we're sourcing, uh, we get surprised a lot what sells out there. Sometimes when we think it's yogurt, other days we find out it's teas. But with the
Mhm.
garden supplies as well, we find out that we're selling a lot of harvest equipment so people can make their own teas as well. So it's just given with the seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Very cool. I mean, it's a great looking site. It's one of the ways that we found you. We like to look through our customer sites and see, who's done a good job setting one up and what kind of really looks like a site that I'd want to shop at. You guys are on Big Commerce, correct? Is that the platform you're using?
Oh yeah, we've used other platforms and providers. We're just happy with BigCommerce's customer service. Every time we have an issue, it's almost a guarantee there's someone on the other end to help us.
Is Big Commerce one of the many you've tried, or you mostly been with Big Commerce?
We tried many, but we stuck with BigCommerce in the end.
Gotcha, gotcha. Cool. Um, yeah, so I'm looking through some of your products right now, and I do know some of the integrations you have with us and the different suppliers you're working with. Anyone specifically that you'd like to mention? I mean, feel free to keep any suppliers, behind the curtains, if you will. But anyone that you want to kind of mention that is key to your business as far as the partners that you're working with, or any kind of success that you've seen that you wouldn't mind sharing?
Oh, absolutely. With some companies like Cole Imports, we found some very useful products that you can sell for within that dollar range. So if you were at that dollar store, we found that we could source those products, and it makes things a lot easier for us to get basically 1,200 SKUs that we don't have to be so worried about. We know reliably that the inventory sources got our back with those 1,200 SKUs from Cole
Right.
Imports. But what makes it helpful is definitely being up there with the big guys like Walmart or uh, like Kroger stores, like all those retail guys,
Sure.
giants.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So how long you guys been in business? How long has the website been up at least?
We've been at it for 3 years, and it's just been quite the journey. A lot of times we found ourselves being up there with those retail giants because we got the products and we sell them.
hmm Yeah, sure. Are you guys doing pure 100% drop ship, or do you mix in some wholesale and warehouse anything yourself to try to get some deeper discounts, or what does the strategy look like?
Yeah, so the strategy looks like, and definitely I'll recommend to everybody else in the same boat. Don't let yourself get stuck behind the screen all the time. You gotta take frequent breaks. But with that also said, um, drop shipping can be a good percentage of the business.
Mhm.
In the end, you want to provide that service to your customers and try to find conventions or local events that you can sell products at as well. So you can always get
Mhm.
your name out there with back order items or with products up front.
No, that makes sense, and I think that's what we see a lot is that mix between drop ship and traditional, wholesale purchasing and online retail in that way is always a good mix. I love to kind of hear when there's a split between it and really using drop ship and leveraging it. I love to kind of see that because we definitely work with a lot of 100% drop shippers as well. So it's always interesting to hear the different strategies. Cool. So obviously the garden side, you mentioned that the product, there's plants, natural foods, pet food, all that kind of stuff. You said it kind of depending on the season, you might focus down on one versus the other. But I'm curious how you kind of came to this niche in general. Do you mind taking us back to kind of the start of AK Goodlight, how it came to be? Was it just you? Was it you and a business partner? How did you guys decide on the type of products you want to sell? Love to kind of learn a little bit more about that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think with any good story, it kind of does begin with, again, those giants we always hear about. Mark Zuckerberg or like Bill Gates. They're starting off in the garage and they're just as human as anyone else. But really, we started with AK Goodlight in the same kind of passion. We started with doing sales with eBay. I did that a lot with DVDs. Then I met with some of our current partners and some representatives, and they all have the same passion just in home and garden, mainly growing your own foods, having your own foods. We're here, and, growing up with the idea we can be sustainable. So, I myself kind of grew up growing potatoes. I don't really buy potatoes, sack potatoes anymore. I just grow them. So really, that's how akgoodlight.com became. Again, with those hard to find items, we just found that our passion and love in food and our passion and love in items and trying to make things easier with free shipping, etc. All of that just kind of blended into a company called akgoodlight.com.
Very cool. Do you remember the first sale? I know it's been a couple years, but we always love to ask if you remember the first sale and that feeling, or who it came from, or what
Oh,
it was for.
definitely. Yeah, we've had a couple of first sales that were false alarms, I'd say. With the online business, you got those, it's a brave new world. You got those fake customers. But really, we knew we got ourselves a first sale just because we got those other third party companies to help us out. So this is a person who they say they are. But we got a local sale. That first dollar is sitting on my wall here. And it
Oh,
was,
very cool.
yeah, the customer actually came up to us and gave us a handshake and told us that we've basically did just our motto, our goal. Could not find the exact item he wanted. The area that we live in, it's hard to get free shipping. So we delivered those two marks, and yeah, the customer is just he raves about us every day now.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you touched on a good point there, though. The fraud side of things and dealing with fraud in the online world now. How did you? It sounds like you had some experience there. How you kind of look to mitigate fraudulent transactions, and what kind of apps do you use, or what have you done to kind of help your business run a little bit more smooth, knowing that there's always fraud that could happen in every
Oh
transaction.
yes, yes, the frauds. Yeah, I would. Everyone who's listening right now should write down on paper, make the most fun out of it. There will be the problem with phone numbers or emails. Anybody who's in the business will know for customer service, it's not easy to win someone over, especially when it's somebody who's tried to get something for free. We've had that issue for years. For a whole couple months, we've lost a couple of representatives. We kind of pulled hair out because day after day after day, someone was calling us saying, "Cart was broken. Your cart is broken. We can't log in. Your account's broken." So we thought we had to, put some monies into some web design. We thought there was a huge issue. But again, it just became that fraud issue where it wasn't just chargebacks or someone stealing someone's identity. It was a point where someone was trying to cause mass confusion and frustrations in the business, and they succeeded. I'll say that again. They succeeded in just doing that. But I would put a cautionary tale to everybody out there with drop shipping. You just can't win over your customers, and
Sure.
there's no point in trying to.
Sure. Cool. So, when it comes to choosing the dropship suppliers that you're working with, how did you go about that process? Was it all just through inventory source, or did you go through other means? Anything you can share there about that process in general of picking suppliers and choosing who you want to work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So inventory source has just been that great, reliable tool in our toolbox. We've That's never been the case. We've always had some dull tools in the shed, and we would have to get 1, 2, 3, ABC, XYZ, um, several applications just to do one function, or several designers to do one function. But we found sticking with inventory source, you guys really did put the number up by doing amazing advancements, helping us with not just with the suppliers that's in your directory, but also outside the directory, so we can make some special requests. But ultimately, in the end, without the inventory source, I think it just makes things more difficult. How we decided we wanted to work with certain suppliers or whoever is because it goes right back to fraud. If the person is just being frustrating and just being hard to work with, and there's no point to be forcing yourself into that supplier. And that kind of goes back to inventory source. You find yourself not working with specific suppliers, but you found yourself working with an outside supplier that wasn't in their directory, take it. Anybody who's
Yep.
working with you, it's always going to be a golden charm. And we've had to kick some people out of our club a few times, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. So maybe just to wrap this up, one of the questions I'd love to kind of get your input on is, what advice would you give someone that's just starting out? Based on your experience, there's a lot of people trying to get into drop shipping. There's a lot of people that might be getting fed up, or might feel like it's not something that they're able to kind of get past that first hump and really turn into a scalable business. What kind of advice would you give someone just getting started out?
I would give them my ultimate friendly advice up front and center. I would be honest with them and say, find your passion. If you do something you just hate, you're grinding your nose up against the grindstone. Find what is your passion. Usually, people with passions will know something inside and out. With me with foods, I've found myself always writing essays in high school and college about foods, agriculture, things like that. So it was really kind of a hidden talent that tried to fabricate itself in front of me. So definitely, my friendly advice again is just let anybody know if you find yourselves drawing something or writing about something or dreaming about something. Really, the online business opens the playing field for it. It really is an
Right.
open field. It's a final frontier for commerce. So I guess my advice to anybody starting out for the first time: just don't let themselves get too disappointed, and know that it's a lot different to deter
Yeah.
shoplifters, for example. So
Yeah. No, it
lots of
makes
lots of
Sure, no, it makes sense, and we hear that a lot. And I think that's good advice because really, it's going to be a grind. You're going to have to put in those long hours, and if you're not passionate about what you're doing, it's easy to give up. So I think that's some great advice.
yeah.
Well, Trevor, I appreciate you joining the podcast today. I think you gave some good insight here for people that are looking to get started dropshipping or might be just getting started and kind of making their way through it. So thanks again for joining the podcast. Great to have you on.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me again, and it's been a lot of fun.